I know things you never see. You never see someone taking a shit while running at full speed.
Come on, kid, get rid of some of them turds in the shit box.
Welcome to the Bathroom Break Podcast with me, Rab himself. Hello, and welcome everybody to Bathroom Break Podcast with me, your host, Rab himself. If you'd like, check us out on SoundCloud at Bathroom Break Podcast, also on YouTube at Rab Himself Videos. Follow us on social media at Twitter at Chris Rab, Instagram at Rab_himself, and at Bathroom Break Podcast. So we're moving along here in the bathroom break world. We've had a few good episodes so far, and then we're moving on to a new one. A buddy of mine, London Shover, he's a musician and actor and a longtime friend, and I wanted to welcome him on the podcast just to kind of shoot the shit with him a little bit and reminisce, and then talk about what's going on now and plans for the future with some projects and stuff like that. So welcome.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. No, it's fun, dude. Like I've been doing this podcast thing because I love hearing myself talk. So, yeah, no. Like I was telling you earlier, I jumped into this game way late, but it's been fun. It's been fun to just kind of goof around with some friends and some creative buddies, and just kind of get some ideas about what's happening, what's going on out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're somebody that like I always just admire for your skills with music and acting and all that fun stuff. And then we also hang out a lot and just laugh and joke. And I think that's like my number one rule with friends is like, as long as they're funny. That's it.
Yeah, I was actually thinking today, I was like, how long have we known each other? I think it's been over a decade.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I technically Shippensburg, the first time you were there.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been like 16, 17 years at this point.
What year did you get the ship?
99.
99, okay, yeah. Well, so I was still in high school, but I was playing in that band, London File. Whenever,
Yeah.
I guess, like even in bars when I guess you would have been there.
Yeah, I was definitely in the bars.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think because I knew Spencer, who was the guitarist, one of the guitarists, and then you were guitarist and lead singer, and then that's how I met you, because I knew him. We all hung out and partied together, and then he would play his guitar and stuff. I remember one time my buddy Chad, like, when we went over to Spencer's house and like Chad's all drunk and he like picks up this like Ovation expensive guitar and he just starts strumming like, look at me. I'm like, dude, put that the fuck down. And he's like, what? I'm like, that shit's more than your life. Cause like in college you have like $20 to your name,
no shit.
And I'm like, dude, don't mess with that. And then I remember Spencer always being like, man, thanks for doing that. Cause that was annoying as shit. I'm like, yeah.
Was that at the Bird Street house, that big hippie house?
Yeah.
All the drugs in the world.
Yeah, like 6-foot bongs that wrapped around your head. And
I remember they had like a one of those gigantic like hookah lamps that was like, it was a hookah, but like to fool the cops, it would have like a gigantic lampshade on it. Like,
that ought to fool them.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, dude. That house was hilarious too. I mean, that's where I met a lot of good friends in school, and yeah, I just always remember that because I feel like like your instrument is like your coveted thing that your holy grail, what you love, and Spencer was like, always like, dude, thanks for saving my guitar, because he was wasted, and I'm like, dude, is he gonna pull the Animal House thing and just like smash it on the wall to think that it's funny? I'm like,
I think I remember Spencer telling me the story even a long time ago. Like, 'cause Spencer was always like a real docile, like kind of like always freaking out, like on weed, hippie dude. Like he wasn't like a confrontational unless he like pushed him. But but he was always just like a little bit too high for confrontation. So he wouldn't want to be the one to say, "Hey, asshole, that's my guitar. Like, put that shit down."
He's just over there like biting his nails. But no, it's funny. So then that I got to know him, and then he was talking about like the band plan, and then I went over and saw the band, and you guys were awesome, and like just jamming, and all very talented musicians, which was cool to see. And like I think when you're young, young, and just to see like, I think you might have been 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, like these young guys that are like, damn, they're that talented already. And I'm like, man, because like I'm like, what the hell have I been doing? I've just been jumping off roofs and shitting on things. But,
yeah, but at least you got paid pretty well to do that. I mean, we didn't make shit. I spent all this, money and time in music school. Like, ended up in a jam band for like a decade, and all I did was eat mushrooms and
Yeah. And you could have just been shitting on things.
Yeah, and getting paid for it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's funny too. I think like you were reminding me of a story. Like we got drunk the one night and then ended up at your parents' house because you grew up in the town we went to. I went to college.
Right. Well, I remember we like reconnected when I was living in Philly when I was going to school at Temple. At Bourbon Blue. Do you remember that bar down in Manayunk?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we like reconnected and it ended up that night. I remember we smoked a joint in this car when we were like leaving the bar. Like remember McFadden?
Yeah. Well,
he lived like
whose car was it?
we didn't know. I was like, Rab, whose car is it? He was like, I don't know. It was open, and I was like, are you fucking serious?
We just got into a random car on the street that is nobody, like not even our friends.
Yeah.
And just rolled a joint.
Yeah, and smoked it. And I remember thinking, I was like, normally this would scare the shit out of me, but I guess I was just so drunk, dumb, and naive. I was like, oh, well, he's on a TV show, so I think like anything goes. Like I'm sure the Philly cops will be like, oh no, it's cool, but
absolutely not. We would be arrested in a second.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we go MTV. They're like, I don't give a shit, kid. Get in jail.
Get
all right.
in jail. Yeah, but I remember then, like, I was going back and forth every now and again to do shows back in Shippensburg because we had such a large following. And I remember you were going back to school?
Yeah. It was like my Rodney Dangerfield episode. Like,
see, MTV should have done a fucking show on that.
Yeah.
That would have been.
Well, dude, I pitched it actually to a friend of mine over there. She was like the head of programming, and I was like, dude, like because they have that cheesy saying for Shippensburg, like ship happens.
Oh, right.
Or whatever, and I'm like, dude, like, and CKY made a song about Shippensburg, so I was like,
oh, they did?
Yeah, they made a song called Shippensburg. I'll have to play it.
Oh, no
like,
shit.
I'll put it up on the
cool.
YouTube with this, but yeah, and so like when I was going back, I was like, I got to make something of this, because I had been out here pitching shows, and I got close, and I got in development with one, and then it didn't happen, and I was like, dude, what am I doing with my life? I got to go finish college and like get it together. But all that really was me just going and being drunk for another 6 months to finish my last semester and being a madman and
famous in college. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I know it was dangerous. And but I pitched that show like, let's do a show called Ship Happens, and like, and then it would be like, 8 episodes of me basically going back to school, figuring out like that I don't know shit about these classes, and then trying to get through it, and then living at that rugby house because like, what's his name? Skip. Like this big, like I always say, like this meathead and like this hippie in a meathead's body.
Right.
Because he's like the sweetest guy, like hippie dude, like, yeah, man, let's hang out. Let's all just smoke a joint and chill. And you're like, but why are you so muscular? Like, he's like still, like he's a buddy of his, like shooting steroids in his ass while he's like,
taking bong rips.
Yeah, let me get a hit. Like, oh, it's like such a contradictory thing, but I was like, yeah, let's get a show that kind of follows that, and then to graduation. It never happened, but I do think it could have been a good one because it was wild, man. Like there was a time where I ended up like sleeping with some random girl in the downstairs bathroom while wearing a Winnie the Pooh outfit.
Jesus.
And like I put on this Winnie the Pooh outfit and it was like I was basically like a furry, like having sex with some random chick, I don't know who the fuck it was, and I like that was then proceeded to get really drunk, and I was throwing up on the floor next to the couch
while still wearing the
in this Winnie the Pooh outfit, drunk, puking on the floor. I wake up, Skip's like, yo, what happened down here? I'm like, and I'm like, I don't know, and like apparently the girl left. But she had told his girlfriend or whatever. She's like, he's wasted. And then like, you think about how dangerous like I was drunk. Like Hendrix died, I think from swallowing puke. Like, and I'm just puking everywhere while I'm sleeping. And then I go to take off the Winnie the Pooh outfit, and I'm like, yo, where's my clothes? And Skip's like, why are you looking at me? I don't know what the fuck you did with it, you know? And I'm like, oh man, like, shit, where's my clothes? So I didn't know. So I put on his Muscle Gold's Gym like t-shirt, you know, he's like so swollen with muscles. I put on like his fucking muscle bound outfit, these short things, and like go home. And
oh my God.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know where the hell my clothes are. They call up like maybe 3 hours later, and they're like, hey, we found your clothes. Apparently, you put your clothes in the freezer and then proceeded to piss into the freezer.
Oh, I remember this.
Like, piss all over the clothes that were in the freezer. So there's like frozen piss all over the bottom of the freezer with my clothes like stuck in the frozen piss.
Jesus Christ, man.
So like, yeah, that's kind of how we partied.
And you graduated too, didn't you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's insane.
But the way that I graduated was insane because... Okay, so like the business thing and like those like math classes and stuff kind of came easy.
Yeah.
And and so I could just do that because you could just jam that into your head and take the test. But like the one of the requirements was to do like a foreign language, and I hadn't been there in like 5 years, and I had to go right into French too. And like I didn't know French that well to begin with.
Yeah.
But I had to go right to French too, and they're speaking fluent French, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell they're even saying. Like I got like a D on the first 3 tests, and you have to get a C in the class to pass to get your diploma. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's about halfway through the semester, and then Skip and I, we went over to Club Wibs or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we're over there drinking, and I look over, and it's my French teacher is like standing at the bar by himself, and he's like, he's standing at the bar by himself just drinking. He's like 6'5", you know, this huge dude, and I'm like. I go over and I start talking. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Let me get you a beer. And at the time, I was 27. Like, I was going back to school. It was my last semester.
Yeah.
So I go over to him, and I'm like, hey, let me get you a beer. And he's like, yeah, cool. And I start talking. And he's from Brazil, and the dude speaks 5 languages. And I was like, oh, I've been to Brazil. And then we start talking about, like, you know, being in Rio and, like, how dangerous it is and, like, all this crazy stuff. Because I went down there for the Viva La Bam show that I was doing. And Bob Burnquist, the skateboarder dude, like, he showed us all around Rio and told us some crazy stories. And it was wild down there. It was a dangerous kind of spot. Beautiful, but like third world, you know? Sure. And so I'm chatting with this French teacher about that stuff, and I'm like, how old are you, dude? And he's like, 29. I'm like, what? Because like he was like balding and like he kind of looked old, but he was 2 years older than me. So then instantly I'm like, oh, okay, I'm like this dude's age.
Yeah.
Then we become buds, and we're just talking and having a beer and whatever. And Skip comes over like, yo, we're gonna go smoke a blunt. Like, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, hey, we're gonna go smoke a blunt if you want to come. And like. The French teacher comes over and smokes a blunt with us, and we're just smoking weed with the French teacher, boozing, and dude, like from that day forward, A on every test.
No way.
I didn't even study, like I didn't change anything.
Well, did he?
It just was A, and that's why I graduated from college.
That's insane.
You know, like,
so you probably either A, wouldn't have graduated, or B, having to have taken another class or that class again if that was not a cool... Do you think he was like a fan, like beforehand, or...
No.
He just he probably didn't even know.
He didn't even know anything about any of that stuff.
Dude.
Just a cool dude, and I think after we sat and smoked a little together and all that, so it's funny. Like I can like chalk up a lot of bad situations in my life to my addictions, but then I can get my diploma. My addiction is responsible for my diploma. But it's just obviously.
Yeah, I doubt he would have been the same if you like invited him to go do yoga at that point of your life. Shippensburg, like that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember the one time I came back to Shippensburg. I don't know if I was playing that weekend or if I was just because I didn't have a lot of friends in Philly at that point yet, and I still had like a big crew like out in Shippensburg. And I remember we met up, and you're like, "Hey, do you want to go do this radio show with me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "I'm kind of in a well-known band around here. I can talk about something." I'm like, "I'm not nearly as cool as Rab, and I know like they're gonna." Have me in the room being like, who the fuck is this dude? But right before the show, we were like, "Oh, you want to get a beer first?" So I was like, "Yeah." We go down to the place that was called Market Cross. It's called Aruga's now, but I remember we had like 4 Jaeger bombs each and like several golden monkeys. Like I was like thinking to myself, like we just kept banging them out, and like I'm like, all right, we're gonna go do a radio show, right? And then we like don't talk about it for a little bit, and I'm like wondering, I was like, are we actually gonna go do this? Like, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, we better get going, and like. I guess we hopped in your car, we walked there. I don't even remember, but I don't even remember the radio show. I just kind of remember walking in there, hammered.
Yeah.
And, and I had to be cool too because like my dad, is a professor at this college.
Yeah.
And it's
He's like
not
this
it's not Penn
well-respected
State.
man. Yeah.
It's small.
Yeah. They know.
I don't remember what we talked about. I just remember it kind of like went by like that, and then we just went partying. Like hard all over town, all overnight, all night rather, and we ended up at that sorority house, AST. Do you remember that?
What do they say? You can't spell nasty without AST. Yeah, that was right.
Oh my God, and they had like all those weird like, dungeon apartments in there.
Yeah.
I remember you disappeared down in one of those dungeon apartments, and I didn't see it. And this is probably like 2:30 in the morning after just like severe binge drinking. And I was like, yeah, you can crash over at my mom's place. And I just thought like, all right, he's staying there, like whatever, it should be fine. I guess, and maybe I'm mixing up 2 stories, but somehow you found your way back to my mom's place.
Yeah, because I ended up with some drunken slut, and like that was the suck it fuck it tour,
right
because I think I was all drunk, and I was like, yeah, suck it and then fuck it, babe. And she's like, what? I was like, I don't even know what the fuck I was saying at that point, because it was like all those Jaeger bombs,
oh my God,
whatever, golden monkeys, all, and then the rest of just the way that we drank and partied back then, and just stupid shit. And then like I remember thinking like, I gotta get the hell out of here, and I like just dodged out of her room and was like, oh yeah, I gotta get to London's house. So I'm like going back to where your mom lived, and like somehow I can't really
ended up on the
that,
couch. Well,
yeah.
Well, I remember. I don't know if you're gone yet, but my mom was like, she's like, was that the guy from those Jackass things on the couch? I was like, oh, right. I was like, yeah. I told him he'd crash here, like, and we just kind of like, my mom's mad cool, so she didn't give a shit, but she was like, why is he in Shippensburg? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, why would somebody on TV be in Shippensburg? Because I didn't explain any of this to her.
Yeah. He's just there in some like, random little town.
Yeah, because, we all used to, like, watch it at the house and everything, like, my friends in high school and everything, and and she saw him obviously, and I was like, well, we went drinking, and we came back, and I'm totally lying. I was like, yeah, and I just kind of let him in, told him he could sleep on the couch. I think initially I did say, obviously you could stay there, but
yeah.
but I didn't think you'd be coming back. I remember I like called you the next day because I remember it was the dead of winter and we were running around. It was like 30 below and you had no jacket on. I think you were just fueled by the fire of pure alcohol.
Yeah, that sounds
and
about
whatever else. I mean.
Yeah. No, I mean, it just especially in those days, that was that I drank obviously alcoholically. That's why I'm sober these days.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's just wild. How that was.
Well, it's amazing, like, because now I look at my life and I can't imagine doing stuff like that. I mean, I'm not sober, but it's like, from getting blacked out drunk at a sorority house until like 7 a.m, like I can't even fathom doing that. And with all of just the other weird chaos that ensued around it, like I remember we used to roll kegs down the back side of this apartment building that had all these wooden stairs, these empty kegs, and we'd Donkey Kong over them. We'd literally play like human Donkey Kong over these things while like hammered drunk. I mean, just like doing the thought of even doing that sober now, I'd be like,
yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
And the answer is yes, out of your mind completely.
Yeah, completely.
High on drugs and drunk as shit. And I think, I know it's funny, man, because like having been sober, like I'm coming up on 9 years, and like having been sober all this time, it's almost like it's this separate life, like this other life when I live like that. But it's good to know, like, even people that still like socially drink, like they feel like, yeah, that was nuts. Because I'm like, you know, it just like for me, it was like, oh, I guess that's the way that people drink. And when I got sober, like I remember like going out with regular people and being like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, drink.
Right.
You know, like,
what are we doing
like,
here?
this is boring as hell. Like, drink something, you know, like do something like fucking, you know, insane or whatever. Cause like it was just boring to me. And I couldn't believe that people just actually drank that way, you know? It didn't really make any sense. Cause the way I did was from like 0 to 100 quick. And like you said, like before we were going to the radio show, it's like, let's go get a beer. And a beer meant let's do 4 shots of this thing and then drink a bunch of beers. And then
like
be
high octane
blacked
alcohol.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird. I mean, I remember a teacher said to me, or to our class one time, I forget why. It was like this acting class. And she said, some people carry those bad habits out of college. And once that happens, like, that's when you realize, like, but it's weird. I've known a couple of, quite a few alcoholics, and which I'm sure you have in your day as well. There is, I mean, you can't, like, for me, I couldn't really tell that you were an alcoholic, you know, at the time, you know, because we were all kind of partying on the same wavelength, which I thought we were, you know, just because, like, some people don't get, you know, blacked out and ram their head through a glass door or get into fist fights. Like I think you told me before, you're always that drunk that, you know, whose smile got bigger. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or at least you put it on. You know?
So it was hard to tell because I would just be fun, you know. But I think what the difference was, like you said, like that comment about, like, you know, a lot of people party hard in college and then they kind of just gradually, like, grow up and kind of move into their direction in life. And for me, I just kept finding younger people to be around. So then if you were 21, like you know, I got sober at 29, but I was hanging out with a bunch of 20 and 21-year-olds when I was 29.
Sure.
Like, that's not a normal development because most of my 29-year-old friends were like settling down with their real jobs, like doing what they're doing. And I'm like, let me find somebody who's getting as fucked up as I am and then go be around them. And then they won't think anything about me, you know? So like you just subconsciously do that. And you just keep surrounding yourself with the people that, like, drink the way you drink, do drugs the way you do drugs, and don't question any of that, because your other friends are going, hey, I'm getting married, I'm buying a house, I'm doing these things. I'm like, I already bought a house, I was on TV, I'm drunk. Right. And then that's when it kind of came crashing down for me, because I just kept trying to live that, and also that image of Rab himself, you know, like, man, you're wild, you do this, and it's like, and you try.
Everybody wants to do a shot with you, and, like, have a photo, and like, hey, come out and let's get high, like, because you know, their one night of getting fucked up with you, you know, is just their one night, but you had to do it over and over again
7 days
with everybody.
And I remember there was a time where I had a friend that she was like, dude, I'm like worried about you. She was like a manager for a band that I'm friends with, and she's like, I'm worried about you. And I was like, I'm hardly drinking, you know. And she's like, you drank 5 days this week. I'm like, yeah, all right. Like, thinking, what's the big deal, you know? And because if I took 2 days off from drinking, that was like an eternity. Right. So I felt like, oh, that was a long time off. Like, we're good, you know? And it's like, no, like, normal people don't drink. Like, it wasn't like I had a beer 5 days a week. It was like blacked out. Blacked out to excess, to cocaine, to pills, to whatever came around.
See, and that was the thing. Like, I don't even remember you doing blow or, you know, I don't think I would have. Well, I think after SHIP, I mean, because there was a time where we kind of lost touch. I think it was, you know, it was after I definitely moved to LA in like 2006 or 7. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But after you graduated college, like, I didn't know really what you're doing. I don't think it would have shocked me. I think you told me, like, that you do it every now and again, but I don't think. Yeah,
and that was my story. You know, I stuck to that. Like, oh, I don't do it that much. Like, I kind of hate coke.
Right.
I would say that to everybody while I'm doing coke. You know, like
Oh, really?
while I'm in the back room getting all hied up, I'll be like, I hate this shit. You know, and like so, like just lying, you know, the whole time, like, like you know, and then if I did it, I'd be like, that's what I'll do once in a while, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like, but it was a blatant fucking lie.
I was so lucky I never like
Yeah.
got into it. Like I tried it, but I just it didn't take.
Yeah,
Thank
oh, good.
God.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and then I got into places where you're like, all right, well, it's supposed to be coke, but it showed up and it's meth, so I'll sniff some of that. And then I've like sniffed heroin because it showed up and it was supposed to be coke, but it was heroin. So I'm like, I'll try it. And like, and especially on my time on the road, you know, like touring with CKY or touring with myself and like promoting the Jackass or Viva La Bam and all those things. In those like times, because what was really dangerous is that I'm off on my own and like, and then left to my own devices, I'll get myself in some serious trouble, you know, where like, oh, these people don't know me at all. I could snort a little heroin. You know what I mean? Like, these people don't know me. Fuck it, let's snort a little meth. And then like, oh, these people don't know me. Like, I could just take some pills. Like, and then I'd be like, and then I come back like, hey, what's up, guys? You know, and just pretend like, oh, I've been drinking.
Well,
you know, like,
did you do that? I mean, I'm sure you had a nice betting of alcohol, you know, before you made those decisions. Like,
yes.
It wasn't like probably in any sober situation, like, oh, like. But didn't you say like sometimes you'd have to do like uppers or coke or something to like kind of get back, like, oh, I got to go to this event or this.
Yeah.
thing.
To even it out. Like if we were doing a radio show in the morning and I was drunk from the night before or something, I would just do some coke to even it out, and then it also makes you talk a lot. And sometimes coke would have an adverse effect with me where it would mellow me out a little bit. And I remember I did like this massive amount one time and then went right to bed. And my buddy Franz was like, dude, Rab, like you did the most coke I've ever seen someone do last night, and then you went right to bed. What the fuck was that? I was like, I don't know, I was tired.
Wow.
Like because, like I don't know. It's like if it's the hyperactivity shit. Like I had that ADHD stuff when I was young and all that, and probably still have it now. But I've always been like, yeah, whatever. All these diagnoses for all these things.
Right.
Everybody has that shit, right?
Sure.
So what I did find later was that I have alcoholism, and that leads to drugs and all those other things. I identify as an alcoholic because, you know, for me, drugs are a part of it, but like you were saying, like alcohol is my gateway, man. Like when people were like, oh, marijuana's a gateway drug, I'm like, I never took a hit off of a joint and was like, oh, let me sniff some heroin.
Right.
It was like, oh, I'm drunk as fuck. Who cares? You know, and I'll try whatever's coming down the road. So yeah, alcohol definitely like opened up those doors for trying whatever.
Yeah, I guess, like you said, people like going out and searching for younger friends to party with. I mean, and it's amazing that, you know, you're kind of back in living in Hollywood, like in the devil's den again. Like, like it's good you have like 8 years under your belt. I mean, I know like you can't ever really let your guard down, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go, oh, okay, it's somebody's wedding, I'll have a glass of wine or something like that. But I mean, because I know what you mean. Like I have some buddies that are like 24 years old and I'm 35. Like, and you know, they're going out and doing like the same stuff essentially that, you know, we all did like in Hollywood. But you know, and I sometimes have to check myself, but honestly, like kind of my body checks myself for me. Like it'll be like midnight typically. I mean, not to say I haven't had some late nights.
Especially at 35,
oh
it's
my
like,
God,
yeah,
dude.
I can't do that anymore, dude.
Yeah, like my buddy, like it was like 12:30 or 1 in the morning. He's like, hey, do you want to go down to this like cool soul band's playing at some loft in downtown? I was like, tonight?
Yeah.
You want to go tonight?
I got a good book I'm gonna cuddle up with, and
I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, God, you know, God bless him for doing it, but it's like,
dude, it's funny. Like you said that about like living out here in LA now, because like a buddy of mine, he's like, Rab, I think you're the only guy that like comes to LA and you're like, oh, not triggered at all. He's like, there's like a neon weed sign like sparking behind your head.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't feel tempted, you know. And it's weird, but it is. I have a good community of sober friends and like that kind of stuff. And I go out and I live and I still do like, you know, wild stuff and live a life like that. But The difference is I go home before the end of the party, like whereas before
Right.
I'd be like, let's keep this party going, till 9 a.m. the next day. Like, I know there's a box of wine in there somewhere, and like that.
You're drinking plum wine at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, and that's definitely the way I drank. But here's a perfect moment for us to talk about our sponsors for the Bathroom Break podcast.
All right.
We're sponsored by the chain smoking device. It's a device for smoking more than one cigarette. It, if you want to smoke the whole entire pack, you get the chain smoking device.
Wow.
That's one of our sponsors. I think that's it's hilarious
I
that
could
somebody
see the
invented
photo of that,
Yeah,
that woman.
I know. We'll put that photo up on Instagram.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
At Bathroom Break Podcast. It's you could put a whole pack of cigarettes into one like flute type looking thing and just smoke them all down.
And she looks very elegant, doesn't she?
Oh
The
yeah,
woman
yeah.
doing
Very
this?
very fancy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't look like one of those dickheads with those big, what do they call them, robot dicks that the vape things.
Yeah. Oh god, those things are fucking
and
awful.
like all of a sudden, like just dragon smoke comes out, like smelling
What
like
is
cotton
that,
candy.
man?
I don't
Yeah.
know. I hate that shit.
I know.
And it's funny because I swear to God, these people think that, and maybe it is healthy. Who knows? But like it's
No.
like it can't be something that you charge into a wall. You're like sucking into
Yeah.
with that amount of. They're like, oh, it's just water and like sugar and nicotine. I'm like,
What's it? Popcorn lung or something they call
Popcorn
it? Yeah,
lung,
like
yeah.
that sounds healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That sounds even worse. If they're already finding popcorn lung and like these vape
Already.
things- yeah.
Yeah, because you think about back in the day when people were smoking, they're like, this is bad for you? You're like, yeah, dude, doesn't that feel bad when it goes in?
Oh
I
my
mean, I was
God.
a serious fucking smoker for a long time. Like, I got up to 2 packs a day at a point, and I just smoked like a madman. And but I knew it was bad for me the whole time, and so it was hilarious. Like people from the 50s are like, and I was like, this is bad. You're like
You
yeah.
can't even feel it. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's terrible. I gotta knock it off completely. But like sometimes, not sometimes, when I do drink, like I'll have like, I don't know, 3 to 5.
Oh yeah.
And and someone who's like an avid runner just doesn't make any fucking sense. But I can feel it.
Yeah.
You know
You're
what I-
all healthy and in shape, and then you're like, let me get a cigarette just
Oh,
to even it out.
Oh yeah. I
I'm
don't
getting
wanna-
way too healthy right
I don't
now.
want to live forever.
Yeah.
Like something's got to be the catalyst that brings me down. No, but I gotta quit that shit completely. It's
Yeah. Well, if you get the chain smoking device, that ought to help.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
just-
the idea of like smoking the whole pack at once. It'll make you quit. Your parents force you to eat the tobacco.
I feel like the woman in this advertisement just does this on like a nightly basis, though. Like she might have 2 of those packs a day. Like just, I wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, like, who came up with that? Who's smoking one cigarette and they're like, you know what I need? The whole pack at once. This isn't enough. This isn't getting me fucked up quick enough. It's
She
like,
does look elegant as fuck, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
So there is that.
and another word from our sponsor is the beating breasts. The beating breast in 1963, a pair of artificial breasts from Japan. The device has a built-in heartbeat and was meant to be a sleeping aid for very young children. So we'll throw that picture up as well. It's kind of looks nothing like a breast. I mean, maybe it looks like a diaphragm or something for
It
for like
does.
an old vagina diaphragm.
Or what were those things that you used to like stick on the table and push down, and then they'd pop up and do like a little flippy thing?
Yeah. That's probably where they got the idea for it. But it's like, you're just gonna put this little fake titty there on the ground and the kid's gonna sleep on that? Why don't you just like let the kid sleep on the real boob?
Well, you might not always want a kid on your boob, though.
Yeah, I guess.
But
Is it for the idea of like, when you're supposed to like leave the kid crying?
or well, I mean, if you have a babysitter or something, and
Okay, and they don't, their titties aren't up to par. You get
well,
them-
you might not want to,
yeah.
leave your kid on a stranger's breast.
Yeah.
so to speak.
Uh-huh. So that again, the beating breasts were developed in 1963. Thank you to our sponsors for the Bathroom Break podcast. Yeah, so back to the regularly
yeah.
scheduled
Yeah, yeah.
programming. No, I wanted to ask a little bit about like music today. Like we were talking about London File, your band. That's like how I met you back at Shippensburg, and you know it was a jam band sort of thing, and we were all into like Fish and Grateful Dead and those
Right.
kind of bands. You know, and for me at the time, I was probably into them more for the drugs, and then I actually realized when I'm sober, like, oh, I kind of like these bands. You know,
Right.
I wasn't paying attention much to it. It was like, oh, weed brownies, oh, like balloons, we can huff on these. This band's great, you know. But your band kind of, you know, was similar in the sense that it was like a jam band sort of thing, and you guys
Sure.
just kind of ripped on guitar and did your thing, and so that kind of made me wonder, you know, what's going on with you now, like with music.
You know, I moved out here without my band, and I just started kind of from ground zero, and was doing like singer-songwriter stuff, and also playing guitar for other musicians, like studio sessions or live performances, like with some guys from American Idol and The Voice, and you know, some other up-and-coming artists and this and that. But yeah, and then I've done a handful of recordings out here, and opened for some really cool projects. And you know, it's weird how the music industry shifted, and you know, it's such a boring conversation, but it's you know, all the content is essentially free, and you don't need record labels anymore. I mean, people get paid like a penny on, you know, for every song on Spotify or every listen or something like that. Yeah, and then I was doing like working with like a song placement group called Signature Tracks, where I'd literally just go in and like play guitar loops or piano loops, and then they'd say like, give me a song that sounds like this Jay-Z song or something like that, and I'd just play like the guitar riff or whatever, which actually was lucrative income, which, you know, when I got out here, that's all you can really ask for. I mean, that's all you can really ask for in any career.
Yeah.
A lucrative, you know.
Make a living doing what you love
We
to do.
can't all be Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
thank God.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. You know, and I also, when I was at Temple, I was going to school for acting at the same time, and my mother's an actress and my father's a musician, and so I love both of them. So it's just like whatever pays the bills, you know, and sometimes, a lot of the times, neither pay the bills, and then you got to go work, you know, as a bouncer at a nightclub.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Didn't you worked at
the Roxy?
At the Roxy as like a bouncer? That's
And
crazy.
that was a really educational experience, to be able to see like 5 different artists in a night, and see just kind of be aware of like what's happening right now, because LA's kind of, it's not a great place necessarily to be an up-and-coming musician. Like, you kind of already want to be something when you're out here.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's what I saw at the Roxy, because there's so many people that are getting record deals now, and which really doesn't mean shit anymore. I mean, a lot of people, even if you get signed, you go in and you record an album, and then sometimes they don't even release it. And if they do release it, they don't put any backing, and it just kind of disappears into the ether of the 8 million other.
Yeah, sweet. I just poured my life and my heart and my soul out on that, and then
nothing
we'll just get
happens.
rid of that.
This city really is like you know, they say there's no business like show business. I mean, I think they mean
There's
that.
no business like show business.
Business like show business. They mean that in the best way and the worst way. Like, I mean, you can literally one day be making, one year you make like $200,000, and by the next year, because you're an artist, so to speak, you're not, you know, business savvy, you're completely broke by the next year or something like that, you know? Yeah, and it's like we were talking earlier, just about the rejection of doing stuff like this.
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, 'cause
it made me think about like how it is such a changing landscape with, you know, just kind of doing your own thing. Like is it easier, instead of like recording this album and waiting for a label to like do that or shelf it or whatever, is it easier to just go out and do it on your own, like on the social media and
Absolutely.
SoundCloud? Because that's like what we're doing the podcast on there, and then I'm like doing some videos on YouTube and that stuff. Like, it's so odd to me because when I came up and did like Jackass and Viva La Bam and stuff, there was no YouTube, there was nothing like that, and so it was like videos in skate shops. And then now it's so different, and I'm a young dude, like I'm only 38. But I feel like a dinosaur in the sense of like, wait, so how does this YouTube thingy work?
I'm the same
you
way.
know? And like, yeah, so, but it's funny, like, you know, recognizing that that's like the way to kind of do it and not waiting for somebody to like kind of make it happen for you, but going out and doing it on your own.
It really does make you feel like a dinosaur. I mean, this whole, you know, when I talk to like agents and managers or like PR people or, you know, friends of mine, they're like, well, you know, what's your, you know, your social media presence like? I'm like, who gives a fuck?
I think
like,
I have an account.
Yeah. Like, I know I'm on Twitter because I keep getting emails that say you should follow some people every now and again.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't even know how to get back on. I don't know how to sign into it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like trying to recover my username and password, and then like 3 hours later, after I finally figure that out, I'm like too tired to tweet anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm like what am I gonna tweet? Twitter sucks. Like
yeah, and that's I think the thing too. Like you just are like so many people have a platform to say stuff, and you're like, I don't know that you should necessarily have that platform,
No.
but they do, and they say all that, and like I, in some ways, kind of, I wouldn't say censor myself, but like you go like, does anybody give a shit what I have to say? Probably not, so I'll just shut up, you know, and like, and you get to that place, and then you're like, all right, and then it's trying to find that balance of like, you know, not wanting to be on that all the time, but then also like going, well, I do need to kind of, you know, maybe put out something or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, because it clearly works for people, but to me, it just seems so strange to have all of these social media platforms now in such a PC day and age that we live in. Like, I feel like everybody...
What do you mean? Do people get offended by things?
yeah. I mean, it's like, I couldn't, like, I think I would tweet something, not even think about it, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, I mean...
You offended like 6 different organizations. Like, how the hell did this
like,
guy that owns a dog in Wisconsin is pissed?
I know.
You know.
I don't want to ever have to do that. Like,
Yeah.
Like
go on. What do you mean? Go on like the apology tour? Or
Yeah. Well,
sorry guys. Sorry once again. I'm sorry.
well, typically, I mean, it's like, and it's like only like the provocative stuff. I feel like is the content that really even gets paid attention to anyway, so you're always kind of like rolling the dice anytime you
got to show your tits, you got to show your ass, and I have no problem doing it.
yeah. please yeah, it's just I'm such a paranoid OCD person to begin with that I would I'd be afraid that like in the middle of the night, like I went and like
and Roseanne to yourself.
Something. Yeah. She blamed it. Yeah, apparently. Ambien. Yeah, I love the statement. Like Ambien does not like make you racist. Yeah, but I mean, I get it. You know, I get why people would be angry with that. But I mean, I would be afraid, like, I said something bad about vegan muffins.
Yeah,
Like,
how
these
dare
taste
you.
like shit or something,
Yeah,
and then hashtag vegan muffins.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like...
Death
it was
to
like,
this guy in London. And it's like, well, no, but he's actually a healthy guy. He eats really healthy food, and he likes the idea of veganism.
Yeah, I just didn't like these muffins in particular.
And you're just backpedaling.
Yeah. It was just these flavors. It was probably the lemon poppy seeds in it that would just I couldn't take them.
Too much explanation for like whatever, you know. And like you said, like, because it is just random thoughts, and that'll get you in trouble in this day and age.
Yeah.
But so as far as like shows, like any music shows, are you playing like any coming up or?
No. Well, I'm going back to Pennsylvania for a little bit, so I might try to play some shows around there. But I've been playing a lot less in Los Angeles just because I found it wasn't really conducive to keep playing these venues where you're not able to build a following in the sense of you're not opening for anybody because you're just essentially inviting your same core group of people to come out and pay money to see you over and over again.
Yeah, and eventually they're like,
they're
all
like,
right,
yeah,
dude, we'll just come over to the living room and listen to you play a little guitar.
Exactly. And that's so I put out an album that you can find on Spotify and iTunes at under London Shover.
Okay, so your name, London Shover, on Spotify?
Yeah.
And then
iTunes and
iTunes, cool.
Yeah, and I feel like I mean I do book gigs every now and again just to keep, because one, I love it, but also just to keep my musical chops up, so to speak.
Yeah.
But
you're more focused like right now on the acting stuff and kind of like doing that, right? Or...
Yeah, a little bit of both. Like I said, it's like whatever pays. Like it's weird. Like sometimes I feel like I'm shifting my focus or my energy into one, and then all of a sudden I get opportunities for the other one, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
Like
no, it's funny like how that like the watch pot never boils sort of like old saying or
yeah,
whatever.
totally.
Like, it's like you start putting all this energy in this other thing, and then it's like, oh, hey, didn't you want to do that? And you're like, yeah, where were you when I was like trying my ass off to make that happen? No, I get that totally.
Yeah.
But so you're kind of focusing on acting a bunch right now.
Yeah.
right?
Well, I just kind of have, we all set these sometimes unobtainable goals or obtainable goals in your mind that that you have to, that you are going to do this by some certain point, or not even by some certain point. Like you're going to do this before you're dead, type thing. And I've like certain goals like that in my head, and I just feel like myself, I've always succeeded and progressed faster when I really do focus and pay attention on, instead of just like spreading myself too thin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
so that makes me wonder, like, because that kind of got me thinking about like acting and like doing auditioning and like stuff like that. Like I did a little bit of it when I was doing Jackass and Viva La Bam stuff. I had like an agent, and they were like, oh, hey, like, let me see your body. I'm like, what? Like showing them my body, like, because like they wanted to know, like, oh, do you have like a sexy body for this commercial, like this beer commercial or something?
Right.
I'm not that dude. I'm sorry. They're like, no, like, let me just see. I'm like, what, you got like a rockin' bod under the... I remember this agent saying this to me. You got this rockin' bod like under them. I'm like, no, like I'm drunk most of the time, and I fucking shit on things, lady. Like, what do you?
Yeah, you got.
Wrong, dude.
Wrong, yeah.
But then she's like, okay, well, I'll send you out on some of these commercials, and like I remember, or these commercial like auditions, and then I did one for like a movie thing.
I fucking hate commercial auditions.
Yeah, like so I went to this commercial audition, and it was like a bunch of like people, and I remember like at the time, like I was doing TV, I was in front of a camera all the time, so I'm not like nervous about it. Let me just go do this. And like I walk in, I'm like not nervous. I know what I had to say. I'm like, oh, cool. And I sat down in this room with a bunch of people that are nervous as shit.
Oh, yeah.
And like I get fucked up by energy. So I'm like, they're all nervous. And like all of a sudden I'm like, why am I so nervous now? Like, and I was not nervous. Like I walked in like, yeah, who cares? If I get it, I get it. If I don't give a shit. I'm going home.
Right.
And like, so then I'm like, all nervous. And like, I just remember like walking in there and being like, yeah, so anyway, like, freeze if you like this kind of beer, and like, and I was like, and I just like ran out of there. I was like, God, I'm retarded.
It's the worst. Oh yeah,
and,
you feel like such an asshole.
Yeah.
Like such a dork.
Yeah, and it just like, sorry for the R word there. I know we're not allowed to say that anymore, but but I was idiotic. I'll rephrase. But so like I walked out of there like, oh my God, that was ridiculous. I mean, what the heck? And I always wondered, because they always have like these like old like crappy video cameras like filming you. You know, and I was like, God, I would love to get that old audition tape of how bad I was in that. God. Like you just want to see that. And then I think, like you were telling me the one time about like one of yours.
Well, I've had a couple bad auditions. Well, I've even also had bad auditions that, well, they turned out to be good, but I didn't. Yeah, but I thought they were terrible, and like all of a sudden you'd get like a callback or something, or you booked it. Well, I remember. I
It's
mean,
like, and they're like, this is the guy. You know?
there's two.
Like, what happened to your lisp? You had a lisp last time you were auditioning. You're
Right,
like,
right.
oh,
Yeah.
I had a fat tongue. I bit my tongue on the way in.
I could put it back on though.
Yeah,
I've had a couple. I mean, when I first moved to LA, and even no matter how many auditions you have, like there's some days where you'll go in like you've never acted before in your life. You're like, and you walk out, you're like, what the fuck was that?
yeah.
Like you had 5 lines. Like
Yeah.
like this was nothing, and you couldn't. You got maybe 2 of them out, and the rest were like,
Yeah. Just nonsense.
like yeah, Pep's good.
Yeah.
Like-
so, wait, what was there? You had like a big audition for a show.
Yeah. I won't say the show, but it was to play.
It's a big time show that's on TV.
Yeah,
And it
on
was like this
Showtime.
hot
Yeah.
girl that like everybody knows. Like we won't, don't
yeah.
say it or whatever. But like this hot ass actress, and you were supposed to play the love interest.
Right, and it was for like 8 episodes, and and you know it could have potentially.
Well, it was like, okay, like young, like, attractive guy that plays the guitar.
Guitar,
And you're like,
who
all right,
sings.
I could do that.
Yeah, it was almost so specific. Like, the breakdown almost seemed like young guy named London who has has these certain tattoos on his arm that can grow a beard in this amount of time. Like, And I remember I walked in. It was just for the casting office, and I sang my song, and then I had to do 2 scenes, and I killed it. And I walked out, and even before I got off the lot, I got a call from my manager at the time, and she was like, hey, like, even like before you get off the lot, even to your car, like to get the call back that quick. She's like, hey, you have a call back for tomorrow. I was like, whew. I was like, for real? She's like, yeah. And I like went back to my girlfriends at the time. I was like, hey, like I got a call back already. Like,
You're all excited.
Yeah. I was like, could we run the scene like a million times? And she, was like this is a pretty well-known actress, and who's just, it was like old hat for her. She was just like, all right, calm down, babe. Like, you need to chill. Like, it's a callback. Like, and I'm like, yeah, but we should probably run it like a million more times. And she's like, no. So anyways, I hype it up hardcore, and I go back in, and I'm sitting in the waiting room with all the other nervous actors. And then I see this one guy come in who was a buddy of mine in an acting class. And you can tell the people that are new at it, so to speak, as far as auditioning, and the people that aren't. Like, he walked in like kind of like, where do you sign in? He was all like James Dean cool. Like, he's like, what's up, London? How you doing? Da, 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 this and that. I'm like sitting there like, I'm like, don't rattle my shit. Like, so I go in, and it's for the producers and the writers and the casting and all that. There's like, 7 people in there, and I play my song, I kill it, and like we go in to do the scene, and all of a sudden, like maybe 15 seconds into the scene, and I've never had this happen to me before or ever again, but my lip, I'll never forget, it was the left upper lip just started like quivering, like
an Elvis sort of like
I remember I was doing the scene with her, like, like, hey, why don't you check us out at this nightclub tonight.
She's like, it just looks like some like fish hook is like pulling your lip during
and I could feel it, and I remember thinking to myself, like, when I started the scene, I felt as calm as you can be in that situation, I suppose. And then all of a sudden, it just, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I was like, how do you dial this back and not look stupid? I remember like,
it's like punch yourself in the mouth real quick.
I literally wanted to.
Like, she's just like, can somebody get this amateur out of here? You're like, oh, it's just quivering all the way out of the.
But the horrible thing was, in my head, it was going great. Like, and I felt like I was connecting, and and then.
And then the Elvis lips set in.
Yeah, it was just like.
You just start singing Hound Dog or something, Dude,
I remember I left that audition, and I was so fucking bummed. Like, I've never felt this type of like self letdown and self-hatred in my life.
Oh, acting, it's so lovely, right? It makes you feel so good about yourself.
Oh my God. I mean, I remember I walked off the lot, I got to my car, and I'm not really a regular smoker. I stopped at this freeway. Like,
you got
in
the chain
valley.
smoking device.
If I had that, I would have loaded all of them up.
Yeah.
And
Can you put 2 in each one of these?
Oh my God. I just cranked out a cigarette, like standing at a gas pump. Like I was like,
One inhale just pulls the whole cigarette down,
I hopped in my car, like I couldn't talk to anybody for like an hour. I went back to my girlfriend's place, and I just I crawled into her bed, and I remember it was like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I called her. I was like, I don't know what the fuck happened. I told her. She's like, what are you talking about? Your lip curled up. You're just thinking that. I literally spent like the next hour looking in the mirror, seeing like, and from like how many distance, like how you could see it, like if it was just a little like.
Yeah.
Like maybe you could.
Here, just film this, babe. Film it from 5 feet. Film it from 10 feet. And then get close. Oh my God, yeah, you're just like in your head.
Oh, and I just started pouring I remember pouring a bunch of screwdrivers, standing out in Sherman Oaks in this hot parking lot on the blacktop, just slugging screwdrivers, being like, literally, you finally get an opportunity. Because that's the thing about LA and acting, unless you have like a nice resume or for some reason like this very unique look. I mean, I've literally gone into casting offices where I've seen like 12 of my long lost twin brothers.
Yeah.
Where we it's very rare that as a human being you will acknowledge that you look exactly like somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've had moments with dudes like what the fuck,
Yeah.
But it's just so
hard to kind of get that opportunity, and then you get it, and
Yeah.
you're like, man, now like I just blew it from a lip quiver. Yeah, I know, that's crazy, man. And it's funny because we were talking a bit about, just have family friends or whatever will call up and be like, hey, I want to get into acting, and then I'm like,
Right.
oh yeah, and I sent that dude over, and just like, and like. For me, we were laughing at it's like that Billy Madison thing where it's
Right.
like, I want to go to hike school. It's like, no, stay here, stay right here. Because you're like, dude, don't even go for it.
Yeah.
Unless you're like psyched on like waking up every morning and getting kicked in the nuts. Because that's like the feeling of it. Like I said, I think I did like 3 auditions.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not doing that ever again. And like the agent lady was like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, there's like 100 people there, and then like I got all nervous and I said this stupid shit. I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, I'm like, if I know the director, then that guy will give me the job.
Right.
Like it's not gonna be like,
all right.
oh, I went in there and just like all of a sudden the greatest actor that ever acted in his life is gonna be the guy that like walks through that door. It's like no, like all I kind of saw the audition process for, and now that like now that I've been like doing my own little short films and things like that and learning that whole process, and I've been a camera guy all these years now,
Right.
like I see like, dude, you know what? Like an audition process probably just helps a director kind of build that character out more by seeing a bunch of different people and what they would do with it.
Totally.
So then you go, oh, okay, well, I had my buddy Mike that was already going to do it. He's already got the part, but I'm bringing London in, I'm bringing Rab in, I'm bringing these people in. Let me figure out, yeah, they did a great job like that. They did like, hey, Mike, can you do this? Sure, no problem. Cool. Character development right there. And so like, I kind of thought that and was like,
It's 100% true.
Why would I go keep doing these cattle call acting things? And like, I just thought, you know what? If anything, I'll do a movie with like a couple friends or something. And that has been my experience. I did a couple little like indie films, and it was with like people that I knew that were making movies, rather than like anything that was going to be like some big movie. And I kind of actually just lost interest in that field and kind of gained more interest in behind the scenes and doing camera work and then and it's fun to fuck around in front of the camera though too. So
Totally.
So I missed that a little bit, and that's where I'm kind of like doing some shooting some videos for YouTube and
Well,
gonna
didn't you say
do
you're
that
going to
stuff.
Pittsburgh?
Yeah, my buddy Marcus Morelli, he's an awesome filmmaker, and he helped me make that hot dog casserole
Right.
thing back in the day.
Yeah.
That's like 11 years ago at this point, and so he helped me make that. So we're gonna go film some here at the end of the summer and film a bunch, and then just put it out on YouTube or whatever. But it's more just for me to be able to go act a fool in front of the camera again, because I miss it a bit.
I think that's in your blood.
Yeah, like
You know?
there's a part of like I gotta make a fool of myself somehow. Let me do it, and it's funny because you were actually a little part of the hot dog.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, totally.
We did that the little like short film. We did a bunch of skits, which the skits I think they're also on Rab Himself Videos, the YouTube page. You can check those out. Those are obviously old and
They're pretty hilarious.
yeah, they're fun and sometimes they're dumb. I remember like when I first put them up years back, I was like, oh, this is funny. I had to try to do something different. And then some kids on there like, Rab, this is stupid. Why don't you go shit on something? And it's like, oh, God, you can't ever get away from that. Like, dude, like shitting on things is hilarious to me still. I'm
Right.
approaching 40 years old and it's still hilarious. It will never not be hilarious. But I also wanted to try other things too. And I think like, dude, when we were doing CKY, we did little skits and little things too. It's just then I happened to end up becoming the shit guy.
Right.
And then it's like, well, I want to see him running full speed and shitting. It's like, well, I already did that. Can I go do something else? Like, no, do it again. And like, so that's kind of tough. But that's where I learned like, don't read those YouTube comments.
Oh no,
awful.
it'll break
Yeah.
your heart. Like you could get 1,000 like, oh, that's hilarious, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
like someone taps into that thing you were insecure about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
video.
Immediately, somehow they get right to the part of like, geez, this is really boring. And you're like, oh, I kind of knew it was, or
Right,
whatever.
right,
yeah,
right,
and
right,
then,
right.
Yeah, it gets right to you.
Well, I remember you were talking about when we were up at hiking Griffith Park, talking about, you're like, I'm not saying I'm done shitting on stuff for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You're like, it might be a different consistency now that I stopped drinking, but
yeah. It's not purely the runs. I had like diarrhea for like a decade.
you might have to like, yeah, well, I'm still drinking, so if you need like stunt shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I should do that. I should start selling stunt shit. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Just like jars of stunt shit.
Oh my God. I'm sure you'd really have to.
I wonder how long it would keep.
Yeah, I
before it
know.
would just,
That'd have to be an airtight seal for sure.
Yeah, do you think it would do like how like dog shit turns into like a white crusted dog shit? Would that happen to human shit or no?
Well,
Or it would take a long time.
I think it would if it was that hard, consistent. Like,
Okay.
Because
the dog shit is like a nice shit. And
Yeah.
it's perfect. You can like kick it around. I mean, if you
Right.
step on it, it sucks. But like you're gonna kick that thing around probably like 20 minutes after the shit. It won't stick on your foot, whatever. Like, but human shit smells awful out of water. First, like if shit out of
for
water is
sure.
the worst. I used to do that, like when we would stay at hotel rooms. I was such a fuck, but I would whenever I'd stay at a hotel room, I would fill the whole toilet up with toilet paper.
Oh,
Just
no.
fill the entire thing up with toilet paper so that like the water in there, like the paper was like coming out of the water, and then shit onto the paper.
Like, just to be a dick?
Yeah, so that
Oh,
like
my
the
God.
shit was like out of the water.
Oh, so-
and then if you tried to flush, it was jammed, so it wouldn't flush, and then there's just shit, and then you just shit all over like the plunger and everything. But the shit out of the water would smell so bad
my
for like
God.
any of the maids. Like, so I probably owe like I'm in a 12-step program, so I
Right.
probably owe an amends to a bunch of meter or motel like maids out there, and yeah, well, I'm sorry for doing the cherry bomb that I would call it. And
Oh
you just
my
like
God.
shit on top of all that paper and leave the shit out of water. But yeah, human shit out of water smells way worse than dog shit, way worse than any other type of shit.
Well, Well,
Or do you know of a stinkier shit than human shit?
well, no, I can't. Well, I know a sick dog
okay.
duty can be pretty
ooh,
bad.
ooh, yeah.
But to go back to the white shit,
Yeah.
when it turns white.
So the other portion of our shit discussion.
No, because I just thought of something, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've noticed I've never seen diarrhea turn into that white.
Like a dog diarrhea?
Turn white. Have you?
Huh, no.
Like in the grass? Like, I think I'm going to be more aware of this when I'm, you know, walking around these neighborhoods going on
We're
runs.
just like Inspector Clouseau is looking for more shit out there.
Yeah, because you see that dried up turd that turns completely white. That it's like chalk.
Yeah.
But I've never seen like diarrhea will just kind of dry out black in the sun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. It'll turn black. Like, and then there's the white that like has like fur on it.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like there becomes like an old furry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, that's our discussion of shit. But anyway, that's probably a good way to wrap things up.
Head to some yoga now.
Yeah. We're gonna go do some breathing and some stretching. My wife is wearing off on me, and I'm trying to do this yoga thing to kind of balance out some anxiety and depression stuff that I think we all suffer from, but a lot of people don't talk about. So we're gonna go do some stretching, some breathing, and and I think you said you're somewhat like an old rubber band at this point.
Oh yeah. This thing's like I'm probably gonna pop in several different places, but it's really interesting. The last time we did anything with microphones or that went on air, we were hammered, drunk, and definitely not going to do yoga.
Yeah, quite a difference that like 10 years makes.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to be healthy and doing yoga and trying to eat healthier and not making fun of any vegan dishes out there.
They're delicious.
They're all delicious. But no, man, it's been fun just chatting with you and
We'll have to do it again,
don't forget our sponsors, the chain smoking device, as well as the beating breasts. And if you want, check us out on SoundCloud at Bathroom Break Podcast and on YouTube at Rab Himself Videos. We're on Twitter at Chris Rab, Instagram at Rab_himself, and at Bathroom Break Podcast. Also on Spotify, check out London Shover. Last name spelled Shover. First name London. There's some good music on there to check out. And thanks, man, for coming on. It's been fun. And
absolutely appreciate it.
Let's go do some stretching and some breathing.
Yeah.
All right.
You can bet that it's far from over. We just getting started, you put the house on that shit. Unlock the door, won't you come on in? We got a fire in the basement and we pour up in the den. Just a sip of gin, raise your glass. Wanna kiss your lips and feed you cash. Just a touch of sin and a little class. I wanna touch your hips and spank that gasoline. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Gasoline, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Gasoline, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Gasoline, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Pull the curtains when the sun is rising. There's no sense in leaving, I put my word on that. Yeah, I'm hitting, counting up to 7 cents. We slow up when we started, but we turn up in the end. Just a sip of gin, raise your glass. Wanna kiss your lips and feed you cash. Just a touch of sin and a little class. I wanna touch your hips and spank that gasoline. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Gasoline, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Gasoline, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Gasoline, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Baby, take my hand, come along with me. I got something you're gonna wanna see. So baby, take my hand, come along with me. I got something you're gonna wanna see. Freedom.